Hey, this is Sim.
This is Ian.
Here we are here to talk about the psychology behind professional development. And today's topic is spring cleaning and especially focusing in on your resume. Ian, how are you doing?
Well, in terms of my resume, if we're done from a spring cleaning perspective, there's always a lot. We're always doing something. I'm always cleaning something on a daily
Hmm.
basis. If we're talking about from a resume perspective, it can really be cleaned up. It's been a hot
Yeah,
minute since I've looked at my resume,
right.
styled it the way I need to, focus
Yeah,
on the field that I want to focus on. And I think rule of thumb is I think what every 6 months you should update your resume.
that is
So
the
I need to go.
ideal. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
But again, we are in Atlanta, right? I went outside yesterday and the pollen was just covering everything that I saw. So I did ask, how are you doing? Like, as a person
from a
in this
person. Wow.
pollen field.
Yes, I'm doing great. Thank you. As a person, yes, I'm doing great. Thank you. How about yourself? Beside minus the pollen situation.
Oh my gosh. I forgot that I had seasonal allergies.
Mm,
So yesterday I was just running around doing my grocery shopping. I think last episode we talked a lot about
yes,
grocery shopping.
you did awful lot.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, my throat is closing up. It's hard to
Yeah,
breathe, all these things. And then I realized, oh, that's because over the last couple of years, I haven't been in Atlanta,
yeah,
right? And I didn't have to worry about seasonal allergies.
right. It's no
So,
joke. Oh man, I mean, I was born and
yeah,
raised in Florida, and then coming up here,
uh,
I tell you, it was
right.
something I've never experienced before in terms of all the sniffles, all the things with the throat, and
Yeah.
I never invested in Claritin or those kind of medicines that you just take for
Mhm.
allergies, but I am starting to become a believer in that, especially after yesterday. It was interesting. It was a a little bit of a spin, but yeah,
Oh,
so if you're not used to it, it's something to get used
mhm.
to. It's something to get used to. If you are used to it, it's still something to get used to. You know, at the same time though,
Mhm.
it just comes to the territory in the South here, that's for sure.
It really does, it really does. The reason I wanted to bring this up is because it's a wonderful reminder that spring is here. Spring is here. Our trees, we have like cherry blossoms
Mm,
in a park nearby. They are starting to bloom, and everywhere you see it's just so much of rich texture into this world, right? And for me, it's really about spring cleanings, having a space to recharge and reevaluate where we are.
yeah,
Because early in our episodes, we talked about how New Year's resolution, we always have a New Year's resolution, or we try to figure something out. By
right.
spring, we have to come back and reevaluate what is working for us and what's not working for us.
Yeah.
You know,
So it's a
it,
good status update. It really
it
is
really
with
is.
spring, and I know hope springs eternal, and to your point, the recharge, and so,
Yeah.
no one talks about New Year's resolutions in March, right? They talk about, I guess, to your point, of a different type of a, I guess, revitalization. I guess it's a
Yeah.
second revitalization because perhaps New Year's is that first revitalization of,
Right.
okay, this is gonna do it the whole year, and
Mhm.
then the season starts,
Yes.
and then that equates to refresh again,
Yeah.
right? So you're doing like 2 refreshes in
Yeah.
like 3 months,
Yeah.
which is interesting because I don't think there's another refresh again until January. Yeah, even summer isn't a
See,
refresh.
this is
Winter
this is
isn't a
where people
refresh,
get it.
right?
This is where I want us to really stop falling into that trap.
Yeah,
Okay, because we think, right, it's at a milestone, but nature operates in 4 seasons.
mhm.
Professional development, if we can operate in 4 seasons, that's also healthy for us because then it doesn't feel like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't looked at my resume in like a year, 2 years because I really enjoy."
Absolutely. Because I think, or from
Mhm.
my perspective, January is New Year's resolutions, and
Yeah,
spring is a spring cleaning, it's
yeah.
spring break, it's March Madness. It's all
Right.
these other external things that you really
Yes.
don't focus on yourself. You just get into this, to your point, you get into this routine on a
Mhm,
yearly basis,
mhm.
and a lot of it isn't internal. It's just what to
Yeah,
expect from the external and how to
right.
react to the external.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so to your points, we don't really focus on ourselves when it comes from a professional development stage,
Mhm.
from a resume.
No. Right, right.
Um,
And this is where I have my clients work through every season.
hmm,
Because yes, a lot of us fall into, I'll figure it out at the end of the year or at the
right,
X time, right? I have my clients say, "Hey, what's your 4 season plan?" Right? And spring is just starting. That
mm,
means we need to revisit your resume, right? Before summer season where it's more about resting and recovery because it's just too hot. There's a lot of people schools out, right? So there's space for you to leave that job. I can't say leave that job, more as in like take a vacation, take time away
right,
and rest, right? And then come fall, it's time to revisit your job search strategy because New Year is coming. That means new budget. You got to start planning ahead so you can continue leveling up your career. But oftentimes, a lot of us don't have the bandwidth to think through those 4 seasons.
so it probably needs somebody in your capacity to kinda help out. Get
Well,
it
that's why we're doing this podcast, right? Yeah,
that's right.
absolutely.
That's right.
Work with me and we can figure out yours. But
Right,
we are here talking about spring cleaning and especially focusing on resume this time
right,
because I want us to really start unpacking the resume and the hesitations and the limitations that we put on ourselves, right? When we're thinking about resume.
right.
Like, I know I saw your hand raised when I mentioned like,
Right,
last time I looked at and revised my resume was a year ago,
right.
right? Or longer even. What do you think the average time is for a person to revise and review, update their resume?
I think it depends on when they're job hunting. So I wanna
Mm,
say it's gotta be lowball 16 months.
yeah. Yeah, you're right around there. It is oftentimes, snap, I need to look for a new job. Let me look at my resume, right? Or I've just lost my job. Let me look at my resume. I really need to do this. What happens in this time, and this is a trap a lot of us fall into, is we forget a lot of our accomplishments
Yeah,
by waiting that 16 months, that 2 years time period where no, we're in this job, we're doing okay. And what goes into our resume is probably the last 6 months of where you weren't really happy because you're looking for the job, right? You're thinking about
right.
looking for the job, or you were just, outperforming your responsibilities. So you're looking for that promotion. All these emotional components come in, but we forget when we first joined the processes, the work, the impact that we made that made our life easier, right? Hopefully easier, so
Yes.
we can
Yep.
perform it and outperform our responsibilities.
So, I think maybe
Yeah.
piggybacking on that is updating your profile, LinkedIn profile, in addition to the resume,
Mhm.
because more often than not,
Yeah.
if you update your LinkedIn profile, that's seen quicker than the resume. Resume
Yes.
is you have to send out the resume to be
Right.
seen. Whereas if you now, I'll go back and in a minute, I'll explain maybe the downfall to that. But
Yeah.
if you update your LinkedIn profile, then that's seen immediately, and then maybe
Maybe.
recruiters will do like a passive search
Yeah.
or maybe reach out to you just, maybe for possible, I saw your profile.
Hmm.
You want to talk about, might have something, in mind. Now, I guess my question with that is if you update your LinkedIn profile,
Hmm.
and your supervisor sees this, is that a kind of like a so and so is looking as updated profile?
It's a really good
Maybe they're going to
question.
put two and two together. You're
Yeah.
you're gonna be heading out soon, or you're thinking about heading out soon, maybe haven't had the conversation that you're heading out soon.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And then a lot of us have this fear of our supervisor is gonna constantly monitor our LinkedIn
Mhm.
updates, right? And if that's the case, get out now,
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
right? If you have a manager that is that terrified of your
Mm,
success, right? That's a red flag.
yeah,
And this is a different conversation of like, you know what? You might need to
yeah.
find a safer space where you can promote yourself, advance yourself, and have that self development that your manager should be facilitating.
Or be in a spot where you're not worrying about what you update your
Right.
profile without any
Yeah.
repercussions.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
if
Yeah,
that, let's say your manager is a healthy manager, right? You have a good relationship, all of it. And they make a comment, hey, I saw that you updated your LinkedIn. Is everything okay? Be
Right.
honest, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, yeah, absolutely. But I wanted to do a spring cleaning, right? Or fall cleaning. I'm
Right.
just
Right.
going through it and I realized like it doesn't really fit of what I am accomplishing here right now,
Right.
right? And what I want to stretch towards because you and I, we've already had this conversation about how I want to stretch
Right.
in my career, right? That's why I made the updates,
I
right?
think down the road we should get like an HR director of some sort and just bring
Yes.
that person in and say, just list off all these questions about resume building, about LinkedIn profile updating, and all these
Hmm.
things about, hey, just out of curiosity, if an employee goes ahead and updates the LinkedIn profile in the middle of just just in the middle of the year and everything is going great,
Yeah.
do you, what happens from your side? Do you all just brush it off? Do is this
Yeah.
a topic for a conversation that hasn't been had yet?
Right.
Um,
So I'll tell you, and we will bring someone on to share their perspective. But I'll tell you honestly, HR, your managers, they don't care that much. They don't have the
okay,
bandwidth to,
no,
right?
okay,
Oftentimes, I ask my senior clients, it's like, do you look at your?
mm,
I'm like, No. Why would I? I have so
okay,
many other things on my plate.
right,
I care, but I don't really need to know all this.
okay,
Right. This is why I say it's a red flag if hey, you just it changed your
yes,
LinkedIn. What's happening? Where are we? It's a big red flag.
mm,
But
yeah,
most of the time, people really don't care,
okay.
right? Or they're concerned about their own profile, their own
Right.
career to look at that. But again, I know that's a fear for so many of us. So
Sure.
let's plan we'll say what in the next month or two, let's plan an HR director to come on this
Yes.
podcast and talk
There you
about it.
go. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You get like
Yeah.
just kind of get a bird's eye view as to what's seen as red flaggy and what's not considered red flaggy when
Right.
it comes to certain situations in the
Yeah.
workplace. And I
And
guess that resume is
I
one of
will
them.
preface this, all right, with the asterisks and everything. HR directors work for their company first.
That's true.
That's HR professionals work for their company
Yes,
first,
they do.
but one of their major responsibility is taking care of the people
Yeah.
that work for that company.
Yeah.
I will say that. And
Yeah.
then we can move forward.
Yes, we can. Sorry. There you go.
No, it's such a great question because oftentimes people ask, should I update my LinkedIn or my resume first?
Hmm.
Right? What's your take?
LinkedIn first. And then
Well, yeah.
because you can for me, it's a lot easier um to see it. I don't know why.
Mhm.
Maybe it's again visual learner, so
Yeah.
it's easier for me to look at LinkedIn and see what's aligned with what my resume looks like
Mhm.
because I don't want the resume to be different from LinkedIn because there's more often than not people will look at the LinkedIn profile before the resume. So, the LinkedIn is probably the foot in the door. And I think that it's easier to update and you probably get a quicker response
Mhm.
um, because once you do update your LinkedIn profile, then you can see the amount of impressions, the amount of views you get.
Right.
Resume is so subjective, and
It
you
is.
are the one who has to put it out there to
Mhm.
specific places, which
Right.
may or may not be seen. More likely, unfortunately, it may not be
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
So that's why I would do the profile first.
Yeah. And this is where I disagree.
Okay.
Reason I really appreciate everything that you mentioned is because
Yeah.
it's a live document. Your
Right.
LinkedIn is a live platform. Anything that you say will be seen immediately. But that's for me, if we're thinking about spring cleaning, right? You can dust things off. You can take the pollen off the things. That's
Right.
how I see LinkedIn every single day. You can do that every single day,
Right.
right? Where the resume is your home base,
Got it. Yeah.
right? It's not something that you will touch every single day because if you do, that's a different question. Please contact me immediately, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because once it's a solid foundation of your LinkedIn,
Right.
right? Without that having that solid foundation, updating your LinkedIn every single day isn't going to be as beneficial when you Even when the recruiters look at your LinkedIn and they say, send me your resume, and now you have to match your resume to your LinkedIn, but you're changing your LinkedIn every day, it doesn't have
Yeah.
that level of impact.
You're under the perspective that it's gonna be changed every day.
Or every week, or
Oh, wow.
it's so easy to change
Correct.
LinkedIn. Yeah.
Correct. Now, I don't think the practice happens that way. I think that personally, I don't change my
Yeah.
LinkedIn very often every year.
Okay.
I do it only if there is certain significant things happening
Yeah.
and then update the profile
Makes
accordingly.
sense.
Daily or weekly or monthly,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not
See, this
I'm
is,
just not in that mindset, and there might
I
be, to your
get it.
point, there might be people that do that,
Mm.
and I from that, I see that understanding of if it's constantly updated, then it loses, I guess, not validity, but it loses, quality?
Yes. Yes and no.
I don't know
Yes and
about
no.
quality.
See, the reason I say yes and no is because the LinkedIn is not a formal document, right? It's informal, and recruiters, hiring managers know that you can change it after you apply. You can change it
Yeah,
at any point in time, right? Which gives it the flexibility. Whether you do or do not, that's up to you,
right,
right? But when you apply with your resume, that is formal until,
right.
right? They know that quality has not changed from the time you applied to the time they're going to interview you.
Yeah,
With LinkedIn, you can change it 2 minutes from now. You can change it in an hour. You can change it
sure.
so many times, right? This is where I compare it to the pollen that you can keep brushing
Yeah,
off the pollen, right? But whatever is the foundation, that is the resume. So oftentimes, I focus on the resume first
mm,
for creating a foundation for a
yeah.
client. And then we talk about, okay, while we're creating this foundation, engage on LinkedIn. So,
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I get that point. And I'll still, yeah,
yeah.
now I think what's also interesting in all of this is the AI factor and the chat
Mm,
and GPT factor and all of this.
right.
To your point of if the foundation is what you know, put the time and effort in specifically for a specific position,
Yeah.
and then all you got to do is chat GPT it to have your resume align with a specific position
Mhm.
and just knock it out in 10, 15 minutes.
It's easy.
It's challenging. I mean, I'm guessing from a recruiting position as well.
Mhm.
You know, looking up these resumes that look too good to be true because a lot of times ChatGPT just
Yeah.
regurgitates your information. It doesn't really add your voice.
Right, right. No, you're right. Like, with the automation and the powerful benefit of AI these days, a lot of us are saying, like, oh, let me just go ahead and put this and ask it to write a resume.
Mm.
It'll do it. It'll do it in like less than 30 seconds. For a individual to write their resume or revise their resume during spring cleaning, right? That's a multi-hour activity. And that's an activity that is anxiety inducing,
Mm.
right? What do I put in? I only
Yeah.
have 2 pages maximum, right? To create my resume. How do I show the value that I'm adding, right? All this anxiety can be alleviated by ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or
Yep.
whatever AI platform. Like, write me a resume for this position, blank. All right. Here's my LinkedIn link.
Yep.
It'll do it. Is it good? Absolutely not. It's horrible.
Right.
Here's why I say it's horrible, all right? Because over the past weekend, before this episode, I wanted to see how closely AI could mimic the style that I wanted to see and I wanted to present to employers. So I took the last 4 years of resumes that I've had, right? Fed it to the AI. I took about 4 to 5 job descriptions, fed it to the AI, and I said, "Hey, write me a two page resume from the information you have." Just in a snap. In a snap, it did all of it for me. I was so happy. I was so happy. I'm like, this is fantastic. I don't even have to worry about it. Then I started actually taking a look and reading the statements. Okay, that's a solid statement. Couple lines down. Wait, you said something similar, almost the same way
Mhm.
before. And
Right.
then as I kept reading more and more, it was almost formulaic where it didn't feel like a human. It
Right.
just felt like an inanimate object writing something. It's like
Right.
making a list of your responsibilities. It had the information, but lacked the depth
Yeah.
that you get from a human
The human written. That's
written
okay. There it is. Yeah.
personally
Personally
written
written is good too.
yeah, personally written resume,
Right.
right? I really appreciated the AI to help me brainstorm a structure,
Right.
right? But then as soon as I started reading, I'm like, I don't talk like this. And if anyone reads this, they're going to know immediately that something's off. Everything looks the same, right? Because AI, in its vast, incredible, blah, 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 it is still formulaic, it's mechanical,
Right.
and people see that maybe not be able to articulate immediately because I had a tough time. I'm like, there's something off. I'm not sure exactly what's off.
It's not your voice.
It's not my voice. It
And so
doesn't
you know when it
reflect.
isn't your voice, then you can recognize it
Uh,
immediately and say, "This is nothing." What I was saying was that you recognize it's not your voice, and then let
yes.
alone you're repeating things you wouldn't say in the first place.
Right.
So
Right.
now I'm going to play devil's advocate here
Please.
and say that that may be the case. In addition to that, I am someone who's really applying for a lot of jobs,
Mhm.
and it may not be my voice, but if it gets me cleared through ATS and then it gets me to the next round of
Mhm.
it, or it gets me to a round of interviewing,
Yes.
then it worked because at
Yes.
least it got my foot in the door. And then from
Yeah.
there, then I can put my voice in and say, here's my resume in my voice. Maybe. I mean, depending if they use it for Chat GPT for their maybe they redo the resume in their voice, maybe they don't. But
Mhm.
point being is that they already got through ATS, they already got to an interview round. Is there harm being done? Because
Yes and no.
the means justify the end.
Right. This episode is sponsored by Balanced at Last, my coaching services. That's balancedatLast.com. If you are curious about how I can help you, please schedule a free consultation call, a 20-minute call to assess your challenges and ways my services can help you. Mention you are a podcast listener and receive 20% off your coaching services. Offer valid for a limited time. Visit balancedatLast.com or scan the QR code on your screen or click the link in the description below. Thank you for listening. Yes and no, right? First thing is, I hope that success works for you,
Mm,
right? The reason we invest in the resume as the foundation is because it prepares you for not just a resume, but the interview, right? It prepares
right,
you for the how you're going to speak and share on LinkedIn, right? For this is why a resume is foundational, is because it creates the impression, right? It creates the voice that you want to share out.
right,
So the problem that becomes, let's say you use AI resume, you get it to their interview, the interviewer has a good conversation with you, and in the back of their mind is like, I read the resume in a
yeah,
different voice, and then this feels different. The conversation feels different,
right,
right? What is the incongruency
yeah,
here, right? Why doesn't it sit well that the resume sounds this way and the person
yeah,
I'm speaking with, which I like, is this way? And
right,
what it does is erodes that level of trust, foundational trust that might take you from you could have gone to the second round to I don't know if we are going to be moving you to the second round
right,
because it doesn't the confidence isn't built. It's really damaged in that case. So again,
yeah,
I love AI.
I
I
get that.
use it
Yeah,
personally, right? I do it so I can brainstorm, put ideas together. At the end of the day, I will have my clients. I personally will spend hours. Again, once we do it correctly, it takes about 2 to 3 hours to
sure,
revise a resume, right? And the benefits of doing that, yes, we have to go through that anxiety of what do they want to hear, right? And the common thing I see is you just list out responsibilities.
right.
It tells me nothing.
Because that's what's programmed to do. It's programmed to find words and to,
Yeah.
restate the
Repeat
word.
those words.
That's all it is, just in a
Right.
different format. And to your point
Yeah.
of somewhere, it's not your voice.
It's
Through
not.
all this whole process, it is not your voice. And
Yeah.
I think that's the key because
Yeah.
at some point in this process, your
Mhm.
voice has to be put somewhere to
It does.
whether it is that first round of interviewing, whether it is the first, your first impression of resume. Your voice
Mhm.
has to be put somewhere because if it isn't, then when you try to find your voice, it's not the same. And, they're not going to trust you because you didn't, you were brought in because of what they saw.
Mm.
And if it doesn't back that up, they're not going to, more often than not, you're not going to have the
Yeah.
next round of interviews because you don't have your authentic self.
Right, right, and it's really a convenience that you're solving, but you're hurting yourself in the long term,
Absolutely.
right? Because
Absolutely.
then you have to really teach yourself how to speak like your resume rather than
Ooh.
having the resume speak as you.
Hmm. That's right.
Right? All these components come in, and this is where right now in April, what you really need to do is dedicate 2 to 5 hours on revamping your resume from what you already had to what the next level looks like.
Right.
And again, 2 to 3 hours right now is going to prep you for all the promotions that's coming up
Mhm.
is right now mid-year, there's usually a lot more opportunities for professional development, for stretch assignments, for those early promotion conversations. Like, hey, we couldn't find external candidate to fill X position. We're looking
Right.
internally, right? All these things are starting to pick up,
Yeah.
but you really need to spend a couple of hours, intentional hours,
Right.
right, on your resume and retelling your story in a way that's impactful. Not, yes, I was in charge of A, B, C, D, E, but I was in charge of A because of B because
Yeah.
it solved C, right? Using a format where you are really speaking to the impact that you've had in whatever level you're in.
Right. Right. And I think one of the things I've read about numerous times is making the resume numerically objective.
Hmm.
Put the numbers out there, use
Yeah.
percentages, use incremental numbers based upon certain objectives, certain maybe met, exceeded goals.
Hmm.
Maybe your retention rate went down, maybe your approval rate went up, maybe, anything with a number on it, I've
Hmm.
been told is like really helpful.
Yes.
Now, that being said, is there anything that you can kind of put in there with a little bit of your personality? Not over the top, right?
Hmm.
Because I know people wanna see numbers because they only have they look at a resume, it takes 10 seconds to review, if that much, and then they move on. So where do you think in a resume, or what do you think in a resume should be put to kind of say, "Yes, this person has good numbers. In addition to that, this
Hmm.
person has this X factor that we want for us." So where do you think
Yeah.
what level of X factor should they put in, and where should they put that in?
Ian, that's a huge question that I cannot answer outside of it
That's why I
depends.
gotta get the HR director in here
It
and
depends, right? Yeah.
we gotta get a recruiter in here and kinda find
Absolutely,
that out.
absolutely. It depends on so many factors. It depends
Yeah.
on the person. It depends on the department they're going for. It depends on the
Mm,
company they're working with. It depends on the region they're applying
a
to,
good point. Yeah.
right? So many things depend on how informal or how much personality you can show. So, for example, if you are working in tech, IT, any of the STEM field, right? Your personality is absolutely important, but that's not what's going to be immediately valued
Right.
until you can show that. Comparatively, if you're in the creatives,
Mhm.
right,
Yeah.
and your resume is more analytical, they're not going to understand who you are and what your accomplishments are, right? So this is where it really depends.
Yeah.
And it depends department by department and organization by organization.
Sure.
Right. This is why we really need to, when we're creating the resume, really study all the industry, the department,
Yeah.
the people that are on LinkedIn, who's at the position, at that department, to say how much of their persona, right, are they sharing with the public? Okay.
That's right.
If I can help mimic that, that means I will be seen more in line with their culture.
Do your research.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Out of those 5 hours for spring cleaning,
Yeah.
at least a good hour, hour and a half needs to be dedicated to intentional research.
Yeah.
And I keep saying intentional because oftentimes we say like, "Yeah, I've been browsing, LinkedIn. I've seen so many things." Yes, that's just browsing. That's not
Right.
intentional research, right? Intentional research might look like I've identified my top three companies and I've identified the top two departments within each company. I've identified top five
Right.
people within, you're going down in a systemic way where you are actually getting the information that's going to help you for those three companies or five companies.
Right. Right. And that in itself is intentional research when you're looking at other individuals in
Mhm.
competing companies, looking
Yes.
at their resume and saying what, or their LinkedIn profile and saying, what is it on their profile that's making them, that they're doing in
Mhm.
in their position that I'm aiming for.
Yeah.
Researching the company as to what their mission statements are, and
Mhm.
to can you, with your own North Star, align with their mission statements, and how do you display
Right.
that on your resume?
Yes.
And so, yeah, I totally understand. Again, this is for other individuals.
Mhm.
This sounds fantastic. On
Yeah.
occasion, I'm a little lazy.
Yeah.
On
Me
occasion,
too.
don't unfortunately, I know individuals who are absolutely fantastic with putting the work in to make it happen. Sometimes I'm not that person.
Yeah.
And I admit to it, and I should something, spring cleaning, something
No.
I should, clean up is that kind of behavior.
Mm.
And, moving forward with certain, looking for jobs,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, because there are some times you're like, I'm getting a little tired of doing the research. Is the juice worth the squeeze? Right now it isn't, because of all
Mhm.
the layoffs, and people are to get trying to do the job,
Right.
5 or 6 hours of researching one
Ooh, that's
job.
exhausting.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I think that's where it's tough. Is I mean, maybe that sounds good if the stars align where you can do that, where you're
Mhm.
able to invest, that amount of time in a
Right.
per resume per position.
See,
But that's
yeah,
tough.
this is where I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. If you have a system, right, in no way should you be spending more than 2 hours researching for
Mm,
an interview. If you are researching more than 2 hours, there's something significantly off,
yeah,
right? This is where I really want you to develop a system that works where you are maybe researching for an interview about 30 minutes, right? Again, building that system is going to
yeah,
take a little longer,
sure.
right? Especially if you're doing it by yourself. Working with a coach
Yep,
is going to speed that up tremendously. But if you're spending multiple hours on a resume or a company, that is
that's a long
that's
time,
it's a lot of
long time.
investment.
It
It's
is.
a lot of investment, a lot of energy gone if it doesn't work out. Guess what? The grieving process
Mm,
of it not working out is even more significant,
right,
right?
yeah,
If it does work out, that's wonderful. But oftentimes, having that limitation in how much you research really helps an individual recognize, okay, I have the basic, not just the basic, like I have basic to intermediate information of what they
mhm,
are seeking. Again,
right,
most jobs, right, will tell you exactly who they are and what they're seeking. You just have to do the additional work
yeah,
to say, who is the other people that I might be working with? What is the other projects that they are
yeah,
trying to figure out that I have done? Right. These are the basic things you just need to figure out.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
again, if you're spending multiple hours on a
sure,
single role, single position, step back. You're too attached.
yeah,
And psychologically, that's going to have a negative impact in the long term. You're going to lead to burnout a lot
yeah.
faster, right? And that is a different episode coming up. I don't know. I think in a couple of weeks,
Down the
um,
road.
down the road. Yes, because we know how frustrating it can be in the job search when you're not working. We know how frustrating it can be when you are up for a promotion and it's just not hitting
Yep.
correctly. It's not feeling just right. But right now, spend this week, spend about 5 hours updating your resume, figuring out what are certain things that you have accomplished in the course of the past year that you have not fully documented into your resume and how this helps for your next role.
So with that being said, would it be safe to say that you would need to know the role you want before you fix the resume to match it?
Yes. And kind of. I
Love it.
know, I know. I don't
Love
give
it.
straight answer. I don't give straight answers. And there's a reason because
Yeah, nothing's absolute. Yeah, it's
Nothing is absolute,
mhm,
and we are constantly learning. The reason I say yes is because many of us already know what that looks like. We might
mm,
not see it, it might not be immediate, but we know after this chapter, this next chapter is going to be something that we invest in. We kind of know, right? If you're in the latter
mm,
perspective, right? If you're in a junior level, mid level,
yes,
you're probably looking for the next level,
sure.
right? If you are in the career changing side, you've probably been thinking about the career change for a little bit longer,
Mhm,
right? So you kind of know, you might not have put it into like, this is the job title, this is the job description I'm looking for. So that's why I say yes, you kind of
yeah,
know, but then I say maybe kind of, because oftentimes if we might not have the specifics
right,
to gear our resume towards. And this is where that research time
yeah,
gets extended a little bit longer. So you can say, like, you know what, for right now, I am going for example, a project management, right? That doesn't directly align, but
correct.
that's where I wanna be intentional in my research.
And also it's something where you're talking about the spring cleaning, thinking about something that may be out of your own field and doing some internal cleaning in terms of, okay, maybe to your point, project management, that you've been in project management for years. And he's like, you know what? I don't think I want project management anymore. I think I just
Yeah,
want to do a 180 and just someone who wants to, I don't know, just do well in pottery or something,
I
but
love
just
it.
like but to the point of you have to do some internal,
Yes.
just internal time, to determine what you wanna do with your
Yeah,
next p like a what if resume.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I wanna pause you because you said something salient that I wanna revise, right? You are in project management and you're doing a complete 180 into pottery,
Right.
right? You need to understand that 180. What is the fuel? That's
Mhm.
is it extreme burnout that you just need to get away
Right.
and the first 180 you thought about is pottery? Or is it like, you know what? It's always been of my
Mhm.
interest. Is it is the right time for me to look into and pivot. This is a salient point because that fulcrum of do I make a 180 because I'm exhausted and I don't want to deal with this anymore?
Yeah.
Or is this something that's always been with me
Right.
and now is the time? That point, if we know it,
Yeah.
it gives so much fuel to our transition.
Right. Right, and that again, that could probably goes with the whole spring cleaning, the internals,
Yes.
where or why am I looking for something?
Yeah.
Because what's to your point, what's fueling that change, and maybe this is the time to think about it. And I think that's why the spring cleaning helps, because it gives you that time to focus on yourself, and
Yeah.
whether it is updating your resume for the specific field that you're already in, or
Right.
something you're entirely different, you definitely need that time to invest in yourself for sure.
You do. You do. And, the reason we call this podcast the psychology behind professional development, there's so much psyche, so
Hmm.
much cognition, so much thoughts and feelings that go into our creating our professional persona, professional identity,
Yeah.
right? That if we don't take the time every year to do some spring cleaning, it could get distorted over time. And that can mutate into so many different things that can be harmful to us if we aren't living our path.
There's so many years I've done resumes where honestly,
Mhm.
I just didn't, it was a check the box process, and I didn't put, to your point, the time, the effort. I was just saying, okay, well, let me just do your basic Microsoft resume
Yeah.
format kind of thing. And you're like, "Oh, it needs 3 bullets from this job. Got it. It needs 3 bullets from this job. I can do that. Put your experience here.
Yes.
Mission statement. Oh, okay. Yes, this is words that will come together that sound nice for the job you want, right? But so check the box. It was
Yeah.
let me get the font right. Everything was
Yeah.
like check the box. But to your point,
Yes.
nowadays, I mean, a little older and different
Mhm.
part of my career, the resume is really kind of serious, and your LinkedIn profile is, it has to be you. It can't just be
Yeah.
a check the box situation anymore.
Right.
Lessons you learn.
Right. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. The lessons you learn, and with age and with experience, right? No, you can see the differences, the changes that happen.
Yeah.
Because when we started our career, ATS was like What is
Hmm.
that? That'll never
Right.
last,
Right.
right? And now it is something that is used unanimously. I think that's yeah,
Universally? No.
universally. Thank you.
Universally?
Yes, universally. And now the AI component came up a couple of years ago, and it's like, oh, AI can solve everything. And now we're
Right.
recognizing there's limits to AI, right? So as time progress, as we progress, as corporations and HR leaders learn more, right? We adapt. And this is a key example of if we are taking our spring cleaning seriously, we learn to adapt faster, easier because we're not carrying the shoulda, woulda,
Hmm.
couldas of past years that weigh us down. We can say, like, you know what? We're here right now. And right now, all I have to do is focus on spring
Yeah.
before summer gets here, try to do additional activities for summer and so on. Because for me, I truly needed this a few years ago where I'm like, no, this has been my vision for 20 years. And as soon as I let it go, did some spring cleaning, I said, you know what? That is something that maybe I'll do in the future, but it is how it led me to the helping industry, right? Led me to seeing clients, led me to doing corporate work, led me to creating this podcast, led me to
Yeah.
do what the next chapter is, and so on. It's guided me towards something that align with my internal compass.
And you have to do that. You have to,
You do.
meaning, and I think that some of us, present company included, is investing the time. I
Yes.
mean, and if, regardless of, I mean, obviously getting a job coach, career
Mhm.
coach to help out with something like this, but, or and to recognize that you have to invest the time in yourself to
Do.
get to that point. And
You do.
I can tell you firsthand experience, I know I mentioned this on a few podcasts, but
Mhm.
career coaches are critical for your
Yeah.
growth. They are critical for progressing and finding helping you find your path and helping you
Mhm.
make decisions and helping you determine what is right for you and how do you get to the point that you want to get to. I mean, it's just, and I think with the spring cleaning, if you haven't had a career coach, I think that's a great time to say, you know what, I need help with my spring cleaning. You know,
It makes things so much easier,
yeah,
right? Because
it
it's
really
not
does.
you. It really does. And again, I know this is self promotion,
By all means,
but the thing is, when it's just us in our heads trying to do all this together in isolation, right? It can feel daunting. It can feel like we're
yeah,
ping ponging. We're just going back and forth and not seeing the result instead of spiraling into our next level, right? This
correct.
is where a coach says, hey, yes, you're going back and forth, but you're actually going up and up, right? It's still back and forth, but it's
Yeah,
on a different level, right? These are the milestones you need to hit. These are the barriers you need to create. These are the obstacle you need to be aware of. All these things just make that constant investment and thought of how do I make change that can take on average.
yeah,
This is on average like 6 months to recognize that you need help to
and it's
about four or
and
5 hours.
and you said something about the ping ponging, and I think with a career
Mhm.
coach, one of the questions they're probably going to ask is why.
Yeah.
Why are you ping ponging from place to place or from thought to
Yeah.
thought? What's going on in your process that it's challenging for you to stay in your head with one thought or with one idea or notion? I mean, why are you ping
Right.
ponging so much? And again, career coaches are just,
Yeah.
they're the ones
Yeah.
that will help you recognize that from a non-biased perspective.
Mhm.
You
Right.
probably
Yeah.
can't see it yourself. You're like, okay, well, I'm doing this because this is my normal process.
Yes.
Ping pong is the normal
Yes.
process for, but you won't see it as ping pong. You're seeing it as this to me is normal. So I should be doing this because that's what I'm
Mm,
used to.
right. Right. Um, there's a quote that I wanted to share that stays with me, and I don't know if my brother even knows that I kept this with me. He mentioned like time is the cheapest right now. The reason I say this, time is the cheapest because in 2 months' time, it will have cost you 2 months,
Mm,
right? In 6 months' time, it will have cost you 6 months.
yeah,
that that cost might look like your effort, right? Your ping ponging,
yeah,
your resumes being stuck, your life responsibilities changing, and so many other things that we don't really
yeah,
really know. But as of right now, this moment, It is the cheapest because you have the full control of this moment, right? Because in the past, you can't change anything, you can't do anything,
Right. I mean, you can
right?
think
In the
about the
future,
past, but you can't change the past. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. It is in the future, you can think about it, you can plan for it, you can
Right.
do all this. But right now is the best time for you to invest in yourself
Yeah.
because it is the
Yeah.
cheapest. You won't have
Good
regrets,
point.
right? And you will only be prepared.
There, and it's funny you mentioned that because working at
Mhm,
our past university, when they were trying to get people on board to get into the program, whatever program it
mhm,
was, they would say, or the mentality is in 3 years, 3 years will pass, but by 3 years you'll have your degree, or 18 months you'll have your degree. Whether
mhm.
in 18 months will come and go, but by the end of that, you're in this program, you'll have your
Yeah.
degree. So to your point, time is literally the cheapest at this point.
It is. It
Um,
really is. Right. And this is where like spring cleaning comes up for me, and especially focusing on the resume is your resume will be the foundation that can guide you in, do you need the 180? Do you want the 180? Or is that something
yeah,
that you've dreamt of? Or is it, hey, you've been in the job search and you really need to, your resume isn't working. You
yeah,
need external support to bring your resume up to standards.
yeah,
Yes, you've been utilizing AI to create your career plans and everything, but it doesn't really speak to your tone. It doesn't speak to your persona. Having all of these things that you just check through in the spring cleaning and then build that foundation on creating a resume that's going to reflect for the next 6 months. Because at the beginning of this episode, we talked about, resumes.
yeah,
Ideally, you should be updating every 6 months because
yeah,
you have accomplished so much within 6 months that if it's not on your resume, it's just going to be hidden. It's going to be put in a closet somewhere that you will forget about. And you'll be like, I feel like I did something like this. I've done this so many times, Ian. I feel like I've done something like this. That's right. I did. I did. I forgot about it. Right. Let me go ahead and look back into resume from 2010
yeah, yeah.
and find exactly what.
Let's
But
see.
if you are doing this every year, every spring, you're already ready and you are prepped for the interview as well.
And I think when you're looking for like myself, sometimes I don't. I try to, but sometimes I have a
Mhm.
challenge with accepting feedback.
Mm.
And when you do something like this with your spring cleaning, with your resume updates, with your LinkedIn profile updates, you just
Mhm.
need to have another set of eyes. And sometimes the feedback is not what you want to hear, but it's the feedback you need to hear. And I think from, like I said, there are people out there like myself that are probably like, "Ugh, I don't want, I mean, I'm fine. I don't, or get
Fine.
offended or just, it's humbling to hear like, oh, geez, yeah, you really need
Yeah.
to fix these certain sentences, or you need to fix this
Mhm.
comment, you need to fix the tone
Yes.
of what you're putting out there.
Yes.
And it's challenging to hear, but it's so necessary to get
Right.
that from somebody else.
You're absolutely right. I am checking our time. We are
Yes.
maybe at time.
Yes, absolutely.
But the reason you're right is feedback is hard.
Yes, it is.
It's so difficult, right? Even if you like feedback, it's still anxiety provoking to
Right.
ask for it and
Right.
then receive it. Even if it's positive feedback, it is difficult to accept it. Right? When it's constructive feedback, that initial defense mechanisms, right, are right there, ready to protect us, right? And that's another episode that's coming up this year.
Yes, it
Unfortunately, we
is.
don't have the time to talk about it today.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Yes, but we will definitely circle back to this for sure.
We will. We will. Well, thank you for joining us, everyone.
Yes, thank you guys. Have a great one.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us and being part of the conversation. We hope this episode has given you some insight on your journey to a more balanced and fulfilling career. Please find Beyond the 9 to 5, a balanced career on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode. Thank you for joining us.